It is Thursday here on Armchair Analysis, and today we preview everything going to happen tonight here in week one of the college football season. Welcome in. I'm your host, Tyler Isley, and we have a packed show today. We've got a lot to talk about. A lot of news broke over the last couple of days while I was working, honestly. I worked yesterday, so I had to pre-record yesterday's show. So we've got a little bit more to talk about today, but that's all right. We got plenty of time. Looking at some of the news today. Oh, well, first, before we do that, if you're new around here, subscribe. It's free. It's 90% of you who watch these shows, who watch this show, are not subscribed. And that's okay. Look, not everybody's cup of tea, but it'd be appreciated to get you guys here a little bit quicker. We cover everybody, and there's a reason we cover everybody, okay? We're not a front-running show. We don't talk about just the teams in the top five. Sure, they get a little more attention because, well, that's the way the world works. But we talk about everybody, and today is where I begin to prove that to you. Because week zero, we only had 4 or 5 games to talk about, but we talked about everybody there too. We're gonna talk about everybody, every game that we have to talk about, every game that we have on deck tonight. We're gonna talk about in some shape or form. So make sure you're here, and make sure you don't miss any of our content. We got year-round content here in the college football world, and it's an amazing time of year that we get to kick off once again the college football season. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into today's episode of Armchair Analysis. And man, we got a lot, but we'll start with North Carolina. We'll start over in Chapel Hill. Gio Lopez was named the starting quarterback for UNC for Monday night's game against TCU. Are we surprised? No. Gio Lopez he's a heck of an athlete. He's going to make a lot of plays, and I think he's going to be probably their best option. It was between him and Max Johnson. It was officially announced that Gio was going to get the start. Max Johnson's been great in this whole process. Everything we've been told, everything Gio Lopez has said himself, everything the people around the program have said. Max Johnson's been a great teacher. He's really kind of taken on a leadership role, even in knowing that he had some stiff competition. Doesn't win the job, but stuck it out. Helped Gio Lopez learn the playbook, learn this team, learn who he needed to be around. And I think that's a really big deal. I think that says a lot about Max Johnson's character, and it also says a lot about what Gio I think can do this year. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. UNC is going to be an interesting team all year long to watch. Going to play a big role in Monday's affair, certainly. Moving on, some other news that came out. Kansas State running back Dylan Edwards is going to miss at least this weekend against North Dakota, but it is likely he misses another game after that. Hard to say for sure, but that's where we sit right now. Obviously, you don't want to see that. Dylan Edwards is a guy that I'm super excited for going into the year, and still am when he comes back. We only got to see him for really one play last Saturday when they played Iowa State out there in Ireland. He got injured on the punt or on the muff punt that he had. Didn't return to the game, and again is not going to play this Saturday. Hoping for a speedy recovery though, because again he's an exciting player. He belongs on the field. Hopefully we can see that here soon, sooner rather than later. Pac-12 has extended its deal with the CW through 2031, which is a great sign. Look, the Pac-12 is going to have a new look next year. They've got a lot of teams moving over. We'll talk about that a little bit more down the line. Let's get through 2025 season before we start talking about realignment again. But the Pac-12 is going to have a new look next year, and they, again, extend their deal with the CW through 2031. It's a big deal. It's a big form of revenue. CW's done a great job so far with all of their stuff. Their ACC coverage has been good. Their Pac-12 coverage last year, even though it was just 2 teams, was good. I'm excited to see what it brings to the table going forward. I think this is a big win for the Pac-12 and their media rights deal. Tennessee extends Josh Heupel through 2030. That's an interesting number. The reason for 2030, I believe, is it's going to get them through, and I was told this by a very close friend of mine who happens to be a very close follower of the Vols program, that it seemingly is giving Josh Heupel through the Faison Brandon era to see what kind of improvement, where this team ends up over that next few years. Josh Heupel's done a great job so far. Tennessee really has kind of come out of just a middling SEC program to be a front-running SEC program. They have competed for spots in the SEC title game. They've played Georgia in games that have meant a lot in terms of their winning of the SEC East. And even last year, they played in multiple games that determined whether or not they would go to the SEC title themselves. They made the playoffs last year. They had one of the best defenses in college football and were led by what they thought was going to be a great quarterback, but really ended up being a great running game. This year, they have a new set of challenges in front of them. Joey Aguilar at quarterback. What is he going to look like? How good can he be? What does this Tennessee offense look like? They're replacing a good amount on defense, too. How does the defense look? They've had their handful of off-field issues over the course of the offseason as well. And not just the Nico Iamaleava drama, but you also have the Boo Carter drama that's gone on. And so there's a lot of things that have opened up for this Tennessee program. Josh Heupel's got essentially 6 more years to figure it out and continue to keep Tennessee on this upward trajectory. I think they will be, but it certainly is a point of interest going forward. All right, so moving into tonight's action, we've got a lot of games to talk about, but I've got 4 games that I'm really keeping my eyes on, and then I'm going to be on every game. I'm going to see at least something from every game at some point today. But there's a few games I'm really interested in, and I really think there's some storylines to go into them. So I'm going to save those for last. Let's talk about some of the other games that we got going on here, though. We'll start with some of the FBS matchups. Lafayette goes on the road to face Bowling Green tonight. They're taking Bowling Green to win. I think they'll be fine. They're debuting Drew Pine as their starting quarterback out there, just off of 75. You got Delaware State at Delaware. This is a storyline game. I'm taking Delaware to win, but Deshaun Jackson, first game as the head coach of the Delaware State Hornets. That'll be interesting. That's a fun game to watch. I'm certainly going to at least catch a little bit of that. I want to see what Delaware State looks like. St. Francis on the road at ULM. I'm taking ULM. Bryant Vincent did really good last year. I think they'll continue that. Central Arkansas at Missouri. Taking Missouri. Elon at Duke. Duke big. Stony Brook at San Diego State. I'm taking San Diego State. Alabama State at UAB. I'm taking UAB. UT Martin, Oklahoma State. Got Oklahoma State in that one. And then Stephen F. Austin at Houston. Taking Houston. Some storylines from those games that we want to look for. Big one for me is the Duke offense. I'm really excited to see how they move the ball. You can learn a lot about just overall rhythm and mentality on offense through these games. Certainly the pay-to-play games are not the closest games, and they're not going to give you the biggest competition, but you can learn a lot about how the offense is going to move and work. Oklahoma State, this is going to tell me just... I'm not expecting a lot of learning from this game, but I do think we're going to see a little bit. I'm curious to see who the starting quarterback is going to be. I'm projecting Haas Haney, but it is up in the air. With Houston, we're gonna see Connor Wegman for the first time in the Houston uniform and get a chance to see what he can do, how he can lead this offense. I think I got some really high hopes for Houston, as I've said before. I wouldn't be surprised if they compete in the Big 12 tonight. Stephen F. Austin at least is a fairly formidable opponent when it comes to the FCS. I think they'll be able to play, we'll be able to learn a little bit about Houston tonight. San Diego State and Stony Brook, this is a first look at Jaden Denegal as the starting quarterback out there. Pretty pumped for him, honestly. Obviously, former Michigan quarterback. I thought he had some talent, thought he could be a starter elsewhere. He went and proved just that. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm excited for him. That's pretty much what we got for that side of things. Now let's go into our FBS matchups tonight. We've got Wyoming at Akron. I'm taking Wyoming to win that game. It's going to be interesting. This is two teams that were really bad last year. They're kind of both looking to get a little better. Joe Moorhead's kind of in an interesting position himself. It'll be fun to watch. I'm picking Wyoming to win, but I would not be surprised if Akron does pull this off. They're at home in InfoCision Stadium. Ben Finley's a pretty solid quarterback. I'm curious about this game. I'm gonna tune in at least a little bit on this one. Jacksonville State goes on the road to UCF. Both the Central and South Florida are playing tonight, but Jacksonville State at UCF. Taking UCF to win. Jacksonville State's gonna learn a lot tonight. They're Clint Trickett, offensive coordinator. I'm curious to see this offense and what they look like with Gavin Wimsey at the helm. UCF, I'm looking to see just what this entire team looks like. It's the Scott Frost era 2.0. Tonight gets it started. I'm looking forward to watching Taven Jackson at quarterback, seeing how they utilize him. Buffalo goes on the road to face Minnesota. This is just going to show us a lot about the Minnesota offensive line, how they run the ball, and then give us a little bit of an inside look at Drake Lindsey and what he can be at quarterback. Ohio goes on the road to face Rutgers. This is going to be game one in a new era for the Bobcats. I'm excited to see what they look like, how they move forward. And they get Rutgers this week, and then they face West Virginia at home next week. So that's going to be an interesting start to their again, this new era. But it'll be fun to watch. I'm taking Rutgers to win. We're going to learn a little bit about them too. This is their first game in a while without a Kyle Monangai on the field. So let's see what this running back room looks like. I think they have a really solid running back room, honestly. Expecting a lot from them. Think the defense is going to play well. I'm taking Rutgers to win. Now we get into some of our FBS, some of our bigger matchups tonight. Some games I'm really going to take some time on. Let's start with probably my least likely upset pick of the night, and that is going to be Miami, Ohio on the road at Wisconsin. Now, I'm excited for this game for a lot of reasons. Of course, Daquan Finn gets his first start at Miami, Ohio, a guy who has led MAC teams before. If you remember a couple years ago, he was a quarterback at Toledo before transferring to Baylor. Lost the job to Sawyer Robertson, transfers back to the MAC, transfers to Miami, Ohio, and is going to lead this offense. And I'm really excited to see what they look like, how they progress over the course of the year. This is one of those spots where Wisconsin has a lot of question marks on their own. Miami could keep this close, and I think there's potential for an upset, at least more than people are giving it credit for. I'm still taking Wisconsin to win, but I think this is going to be close. As a matter of fact, I'm taking Miami to cover here this weekend in this game. Trying to find the spread here for you. It's 17.5. Yeah, I think Miami covers that pretty well. Moving on to another game. This has really no indication because I think all three of these have a fairly equal shot of an upset. I'm going to go with ECU at North Carolina State or NC State. This is going to be interesting. Last time these two teams played, ECU won. That was a few years ago. That was a different look for ECU. They're bringing in a new era themselves, and what they want to do. I think it's going to be an interesting team. Caden Hauser looks to figure out who his new number one target's going to be without Chase Sowell. What's the running game look like? How does the defense look? The defense needs some improvement from ECU this year, especially in the run game, which is a spot that I think that NC State's going to try to exploit a little bit. CJ Bailey getting a chance to lead this offense once again for NC State. What do they look like without KC Concepcion? Who steps up as their number one wide receiver this year as well? Defense is going to be solid as always. I'm just kind of curious about the offense. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. Just two teams trying to feel each other out, feel themselves out, figure out who they are. That's kind of the storyline tonight in that one. The spread sitting on that game is NC State minus 13.5. I like ECU to maybe cover that, but I'm going to take NC State in the points there. Over-under sits at 61.5 in that game, by the way. I just kind of had to double take that. 61.5 is a lot of points. I don't know that either team makes it to 30. This game, funny enough, ends up being a lower scoring game as it is anyways. Last time they played, I believe East Carolina won, was it 23-21 or 21-20? It was a really close game. So it certainly is within the realm of possibility. I'm going to correct myself here because I need to make sure I get that right. Do this live. It's okay. Well, East Carolina won. It was last year they won, actually. They won the bowl game. That's what it was. Okay. They won the bowl game, 26-21, the Military Bowl last year. What I was thinking of, it was 21-20. I was correct on that, but it was 21-20. NC State won. ECU missed a field goal late. That's what it was. How that game ended. So I'm a little wrong. But the last 7 games in this series, ECU leads 4-3. If you want to go to the last 10, it's 5-5 ECU and NC State going all the way back to 2006. So, I mean, hey, it's not out of the realm of possibility that East Carolina walks into Raleigh and wins. I don't think it's going to happen tonight, but just some interesting history from that game. Let's go with Boise State on the road against USF. This is an upset game. This is an upset possibility. Spread sits at 5.5. Boise's getting 5.5 on the road. The over/under sits at 61.5, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it does. And I'm going to be honest with you. The more I think of this game, the more I really like South Florida. I really do. I need to see it a little bit, and I need to be proven correct. But I like what Alex Galesh has done. I think the defense needs some improvement. I think they need to play much better this year than they did last year. It was a lot of the issue. But I like Byron Brown. I like what this offense looks like. They have some playmakers that they can really get some things going with. Don't be surprised if South Florida pulls the upset here. Don't. This is an early group of 5 playoff implication type of matchup. And South Florida could set a tone. It might not be Boise this year. Who knows? But that's kind of where we sit right now. Moving on, game of the night has to be Cincinnati and Nebraska playing in Arrowhead Stadium. So it's a pseudo home game for the Cornhuskers, and Dylan Raiola gets to see what they are all about. Dana Holgerson, the new offensive coordinator, they're going to have a lot kind of queued up, I think, in the passing game. They're going to make a lot of plays this week. What I'm excited for the most, I think, is I'm really curious to see the Cincinnati offense and see how they move the ball, how their offensive line holds up, and what their receiver room looks like. Again, that's the biggest question mark. We know what the quarterback is. I love Brennan Sorsby. I'm very high on him. As a matter of fact, if they had a better receiver room, I probably would have Cincinnati being just a little bit better. I'm excited for the defense. Matthew McDoom for Cincinnati is a guy that everybody has talked about. Everybody is really high on. I think he's going to be a solid player out in the secondary for them. They love Jake Golday, their linebacker, star linebacker, probably going to be a guy who maybe earns all conference honors, at least certainly has the talent to do so. And then you got the running backs, Tawi Walker, Evan Pryor, 2 guys who I think can create a big play at any time. This offense just needs to find their receivers, needs to figure out who's going to step up, who's going to be the big playmakers, and go forward. I'm picking Nebraska to win because I trust a little bit more of what Nebraska has currently. What we know about Nebraska is more trustworthy to me than what we don't know about Cincinnati. I think Nebraska is going to win this game, but I think it is going to stay pretty close. The game sits at, what was it, a 6.5 point spread last time I looked, and it is still 6.5 for Nebraska. Over/under sits at 51.5. I think we're going to go over on that 51.5, but I certainly think this is going to be a close game. I'm going to take Nebraska to cover, but I think it's going to be closer than I think it's going to be a backdoor cover, kind of a late game, field goal, touchdown, put themselves up by 2 scores, win the game. But it's going to be close. This is going to be a fun game. 9 p.m. on ESPN, again at Arrowhead Stadium. That's going to be a very good matchup. I'm excited for it. So make sure y'all tune in tonight. We got some great games going on, and of course, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be previewing Friday night. We'll be recapping everything we saw tonight. I'll be recording that video tonight. But we got some big-time previews for tomorrow as well. Auburn at Baylor. That is probably the game of the night tomorrow, Auburn at Baylor. I'm excited for that one. But we also have Georgia Tech at Colorado. People are excited for that game. App State and Charlotte. App State and Charlotte in Bank of America for the Duke Smith Classic. I like that. That's going to be a fun one, too. We'll learn a little bit more about UNLV, and then we've also got some other stories to talk about too. So, with that said, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Genuinely, it's been a lot of fun. We've had some good fun here on this show so far early in the season. If you're new around here, again, I ask you to subscribe. It's free. 90% of you, over 90% of you that watch these episodes are not subscribed. Again, that's okay. You don't have to be subscribed. You gotta feel it out. Gotta learn, right? But please do. It helps me out. Helps us hit 200 subscribers. That's our goal. We're trying to hit 200. hopefully we can do it by the end of the month. But if not, we got another goal for next month, and I think we can certainly do that as well. So I just appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank y'all so much for spending your time here with Armchair Analysis. And we'll be back tomorrow again, previewing Friday, recapping today. Any more news that drops, we'll have it all tomorrow here on Armchair Analysis. So hope y'all have a great rest of your night. Enjoy the first night of week 1 college football season, and we'll see you all tomorrow.